to introduce an active member of the United States Navy. His name is Robert. He is a NATO Sea Sparrow, and correct me as I'm doing this, NATO Sea Sparrow Surface Missile System Instructor. He's a master training specialist. And he's here, tonight to confirm three things, for this movement. One is, from everything he has observed during the last tour, there is nothing, absolutely no curvature to the Earth that he can determine. Two, there is no Coriolis effect taken into account with the ranged weapon systems he has been working with over the years. Three, the navigation systems currently being used by the United States Navy on the high seas, when you compare them to basic trigonometry, and he'll break it down for you, seem to be completely wrong. And there's many other points besides that, and wow, I'm just blown away that he is here. Robert, are you there with us?
I was in the same crowd as everybody else at one point, where I was kind of, the naysayer, like, let me go ahead and show them all these quote-unquote proofs that I have that makes them crazy.
So you started as a debunker like everybody else?
Pretty much. I really, I came into it with a really bad attitude, basically going on, the lines of, I already know this, I know because someone told me.
On the seas, that there were certain things that were going on that didn't make sense to you. And I kind of wanted to go through them one by one. The first thing was you were mentioning to me about ships that you tracked in the distance. It's okay.
For anyone that doesn't know, max observable distance, roughly, for the horizon out to sea is about 15 to 18 nautical miles, depending upon humidity and dew point and all of that. I've actually been outside with binoculars, with high-powered telescopic devices. We have access to certain things like that. And as a ship is perceived to be dropping below the quote-unquote horizon, all you got to do is zoom in on it, and all of a sudden, poof, the bottom of the ship where it meets the water is back in observance again. And this doesn't add up, because at 15 nautical miles, there's several feet to be dropped around a curved Earth.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't add up at all.
Hasta aquí todo correcto. Nos está diciendo que hay objetos que desaparecen debido a punto de fuga y también debido a humedad. Pero ahora se va a empezar a poner todo mucho más interesante. Hablará del pencil beam. ¿Qué es el pencil beam? Es como un pequeño láser que emite algo de radiación y hoy en día se utiliza porque tiene mucha precisión dentro de hospitales para poder detectar el cáncer. Pero para que nos hagamos una idea, no tiene ningún tipo de curva ese pencil beam. Es muy preciso y es milimétrico. Se utiliza también, como él ha dicho, en la US Navy. Luego, más adelante, hace una pregunta que no es menos importante. La pregunta que le hace es: ¿el sistema que me estás diciendo es lineal o es GPS? Esto es muy importante, porque si es GPS, puede convertir una esfera en un plano y viceversa, o sea, un plano en una esfera. Básicamente porque lo puede digitalizar todo para el sistema que tú quieras. El GPS lo puede hacer así. Muy importante la pregunta que le hace. Y luego hablará de un sistema llamado RAF. Básicamente es un sistema de misiles.
Fire control radar, we actually use a 2-degree pencil beam. It's very, very tight beam, so there's very little room for deviation on that, and it's a direct line of sight radar.
Okay.
And we're able to track targets up to 50 nautical miles away, and on a curved Earth, that just doesn't add up.
This is collaborating that, which he's saying he can track targets at 50 miles away, which should be about 1,700 if you round up, 1,700 feet below the horizon. But you're hitting them just fine.
Wow. And we're tracking them just fine, and it just doesn't add up. You can do simple trigonometry on it with elevation angle, and everything works out, and you don't drop the track. You can track it quite a bit of a distance out.
We're talking about line of sight targeting or GPS for the projectile, for the missile.
For the missile, it's line of sight targeting. That basically, like I said earlier, we track the target with a illuminator, and it's basically just another piece of gear that's tied into ours. And once we lock up on the target, we're line of sight pointing straight at it because it's a 2-degree pencil beam. It has to be pointing straight at it, because if it's not going to see it. It's not a search radar, it's a fire control radar. If you're supposedly looking at something, 50 nautical miles away around a huge curve, it's just you can't punch through the ocean with RF.
But the point is that the 2-inch beam, you have to have it on there for most of the trip. That thing's
not
out
most,
there.
all of it, pretty much.
Okay, all the trip, except for the last couple seconds, if that. You can pull it off if you had to.
If you absolutely had to, but you have to understand, if it's not close enough, if you pull it off, the missile will go ballistic on its last update, and it might not hit the target.
Got it. And so if what you're basically saying is this 2-inch beam, which you're painting the target with, is you guys, when you're firing this thing out there, you do not account for curvature. That beam shouldn't be able to reach a target at a certain at whatever the at 50 miles should not be able to hit that target.
Yeah, and this is a perfect thing, and I'm really glad that I was fortunate enough to work on this, because the argument always is, well, we can reach over a curve because, we're a search radar and we use atmospherics and bounce off different parts of the atmosphere, and then it comes back down. Okay. Now, see, the problem with that is this can't happen with a 2-degree pencil beam. The angle of this cannot put RF up into an atmosphere and then bounce it back down and then expect to get it back so we can properly track.
It's too precise.
Yeah. It's too precise. It can't do that.
Yeah. Wow.
Last little topic that I wanted to mention about that specifically is some of our search radars boast distances of being able to track stuff like over 200 miles away. So take that into consideration for supposed curvature. This is something to think about. 200
miles, yeah. I haven't even looked at the thing at 200 miles, but that's a massive distance. That's I think that's a full-blown mile below the horizon if the world was actually round, if I'm not mistaken. Which, you shouldn't be able to hit it. Should not, unless, again, what you're talking about, bouncing it off something, which what you're saying it does not do. Let me ask something else, because you and I hadn't really. And again, if you can't talk about that, that's fine. But yeah, you specialize in the Sea Sparrow surface missile system, but you probably have had exposure to all sorts of different weapon systems from the ship point of view, both short range and maybe even a few that are longer range. Do you guys compare notes? I mean, do you kind of see the same sort of thing where everything's consistent? It's not like one system is using curvature and the other system isn't. Nobody's using curvature on anything, as far as you know.
As far as I know, we do not. I'm glad you mentioned that, because other systems, if you want to compare them, the only thing we feed into our systems at all, and it's only on a plane system. We have this piece of equipment, and I'm sure quite a few people are familiar with this, but we use gyros, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And these gyros are powered on our ship, and basically they stay stationary once they're spooled up, and we have to power them up before we get underway.
Yeah.
And this information from this gyro is fed into all of our radar systems and all of our weapon systems, and all they account for is the pitch and roll of our ship. So we can account and send that information to, compensate. Like if our ship takes a huge roll, it compensates our weapon system to aim higher, if need be. And if you look at the coordinate system for that, there's no curvature in that at all. It's just a plain model.
That's great. Wow. So basically what he's saying there, folks, in case you've missed anything yet, is that there are no weapon systems currently in the U.S. Navy that are using curvature, or the Coriolis effect. It's something we've suspected for a little while now, but nobody's actually said it.
Así pues, el giroscopio es mucho más importante que en un avión. Básicamente porque también se necesita para absolutamente todos los sistemas de defensa. Los lanzamisiles necesitan nivelarse, y no solo con el oleaje, deberían hacerlo precisamente con la curvatura, no solo por 2 o 3 metros de oleaje. sino también por la distancia, como hemos podido ver, de 500 metros de curvatura, cosa que no hace. Él lo ha indicado. El sistema funciona sobre un sistema totalmente plano. Es más, lo que él ha dicho no se queda para nada solo. Esto está corroborado por el propio Ministerio de Defensa, en concreto Ballistic Missile Defense Organization. Y en el número 13 ya te lo dice. En el punto número 3 dice: este formato es el que funciona en el modelo más simple, en el de una tierra plana. Te lo está diciendo. Y traqueado además por 2 radares. Dicho de otra forma, la gente de a pie tiene un sistema que funciona esférico. Se le presenta esférico, apoyado y promocionado y publicitado, obviamente, por la NASA y por Hollywood. Pero luego tenemos el otro lado, que son los militares, que trabajan con un modelo simple, llano y recto, que es el modelo de la Tierra plana. Es más, este dato, por muy simple que parezca, ¿sabéis a quién pertenece? Os lo digo, mira. Punto número 9. El Pentágono. ¿Cómo podrían estar los militares utilizando algo que no funciona bien? ¿Estarían poniendo en juego todos esos miles de millones? ¿Por qué se le presenta esférico a la gente de a pie y luego los militares utilizan un modelo plano? ¿Cuál es el que os creéis vosotros? ¿El formato esférico? ¿El formato que os presenta la televisión? ¿O el que utilizan los militares? Dicho esto, un saludo y un abrazo a todos.